Hello, everyone, and welcome to Introducing. I am so excited. This is your girl, Smart Video Girl, and it is July 5th, right? The day after Independence Day. I hope you are enjoying this. This is actually a pre-recording, but for those who are seeing this, it is July 5th. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And as you can see, it's different environments. So we'll get into that a little later because what we do here is introduce new people, new things, and new ways of thinking. So today I'm doing a new thing, which is in a studio. I have a very new person that I would like to introduce you to, who's not only a friend, but he's an artist and he's a thinker, just like me. So we're going to talk about some great things, especially considering it is Independence Day. People have just celebrated independence. We're going to talk about what that really means, what that really looks like, and that's going to be fun. So again, today's show is titled The Eye of the Beholder. So you guys know how I love to do stuff like that. So first and foremost, I want to make sure that you go like, share, and subscribe on the YouTube channel. I appreciate all of you who have done so far. It's just been a great time to I just appreciate everyone's support. It's just, there's no words to describe how it makes me feel. And so with that, this is just only episode 6. So if you have missed any, go back, look at all of them. You might be off this weekend. You might be like me, actually at the beach, watching this with you, and watch all of them. I mean, that sounds good. But before we get, let's get started. That's not before we get started. Let's get started. I would like to introduce to you all a friend of mine, someone who is, I'm excited. I met him last year when I went to Selma. Some of you know this. I went to Selma, Montgomery. We walked from Selma to Montgomery, and I met a friend, and we've been connected ever since. And I would like to introduce to you Mr. Frank Hardy, the artist. Welcome, Frank.
I would just reach over and shake your hand, but give me a hug.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm giving a hug. Hi, friend.
I'm so happy to be here. So happy to be here.
I'm so happy for you to be here.
Especially since you're giving me an opportunity to share my gift
Yes.
with your audience,
Yes.
with the people who follow you, because I'm one of those people. I believe that gifts are meant to be shared. You never know the full power or the strength of your gifts until you share them. I never knew I had gifts when I was young, because if I remember when I was in elementary school, I was a slow learner. At least they thought I was a slow learner. They put me in this class for kids that had learning disabilities, and the system truly made me believe that I wasn't very intelligent. So I would, whenever I had time, I would sit and draw.
Right.
I was always just sitting and drawing, and mainly entertaining myself, and my artistic ability became therapy for me.
That's right. That's a beautiful thing. So that's kind of how you just learned how he became an artist and through some of those life struggles. And thank you for sharing that with the audience so that they could get a little insight
Oh, yeah.
into who you are. And if you, before we get started all the way into it, can you tell them how they can like get in touch with you and where they can find some of your art?
Yes, you can look me up at Frank Hardy 1. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, give me a second.
That's your email.
Frank Hardy 1 at gmail.com. That's my email, frankhardy1 at gmail.com. You can find, you can reach me up, and if you have a particular painting you like, I can make sure that you'll be able to purchase that painting. If you have an idea of a painting you'd like to have, call me up. We'll talk about it, and I will create that idea I will create that vision from your ideas.
He's a visionary.
I will also give you my phone number before we leave.
Yeah,
the
before
show.
we leave. All right. So those of you out there, make sure that you go and check out Frank Hardy and check out some of his art after the show. But you can get a little glimpse because we've been talking about some of the work that you have done. You have a piece here that I know people are looking at. You also have some of the behind you on the television screen. But before we get into that, what I do on my show, I want people to know a little bit more about you. You are, Bloody Sunday, and just for those who do not know, you were 10, right?
Well, I turned 10 in July.
You turned
So
10 in July. So you
I
was
turned
you
10
were
that
9.
year.
You were 9.
I was getting ready to turn 10.
He was getting ready to turn 10. He was 9 years old in Selma, Montgomery on Bloody Sunday at the bridge.
Yeah, basically what happened is a lot of the kids in my community was, the civil rights workers was there in the community. They was everywhere. And they would come into our community and ask us to do things. Like if there was going to be a mass meeting, they would bring these flyers to the kids who was playing in the park area, and they said, look, you guys take these flyers and pass them out. So 9, 10 years old, we were just happy that they asked us to do something. Mm-hmm. And we would go from door to door in our neighborhood passing out these flyers. And these flyers would usually say something about mass meeting at Brown Chapters Church, or mass meeting at Tackle-Mouth Baptist Church, and then they put when the meeting would be. And the funny thing about it was, I did not even know what a mass meeting was. That's why I'm that young. I'm thinking a mass meeting was like a masquerade party or something. People showing up with masks on, 'cause
Right.
that's what kids think. But still, I was happy to pass those flyers out. Mm-hmm. And coming up to the day that they was going to march, me and my buddies, we was curious. We wanted to go. But the funny thing about it, my dad had told us, in his words, don't go down there and mess with those white folks. He had told us, stay
Don't
clear
go
of
over
that
there, though.
stuff,
Don't go down there.
And the day of the march, we decided we was gonna go anyway. That Sunday, and it was kind of quiet in the community, but we said, hey, well, let's go see what's going on.
Right.
So me and my friends, we got our bikes, and we would pair up on the bikes, one riding the bike and the other sitting in the handlebars, and we rode down. And as we was approaching the bridge, the adult people was running back toward us and about to run over us, basically, and they was telling us to go back, and we stopped and we watching, trying to see what the big deal is, and then you saw stuff that children shouldn't have to see. These police was beating these people, and in fact, I have a painting I'm going to share with you soon.
It's up there now. Yeah.
This is it. And I looked up and I saw this elderly black man trying to pick this little girl up and run with her, and he was staggering himself, and then you could see the smoke behind him, which we thought was smoke, until you got a whiff. It was sort of a breezy day, and once we got a whiff of that tear gas, we realized that wasn't smoke. At least it wasn't ordinary smoke. That's what we were thinking as kids, So bottom line is, once we realized where we were and what was taking place, we were scared to death, you know. So we turned around running back toward home. But the thing about it, when I got home, I wouldn't tell my parents where we were,
Right.
you know, because we
You
weren't supposed to be
there, right.
And I was one of those kids who was always somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. And so for years, I didn't say nothing about it, you know.
That's all right.
But the funny thing about it, as I kind of age and I seeing all these things taking place, and white people got really angry right after the civil rights movement. You know, I mean, they got mean in Selma, and they looked like they looked for any opportunity they could to hurt some of us. People came up missing. And all sorts of things happened. And I'm not going to get into all the detail to tell you about those things because it's in history now.
Yeah.
But people came up missing, people being beaten, I even heard stories about girls being snatched off the street, being raped, and they couldn't even go tell the police about it.
Right.
I mean, they couldn't even report it, you know. And so years later, once I decided I was going to be an artist, and over the last couple of years, I'm seeing all this hatred in the country, and I realized, you know, I heard a report about what you call inherited trauma, how you can be traumatized and don't even know you've been traumatized.
Right.
Whenever I would see these reports on the news about what these cops were shooting someone or killing someone, like Arbery, who was in the park in Georgia where he was murdered, you know, stuff like that. It just made me feel a certain way, you know, and I was trying to find ways I wanted to do something about it, and I didn't know what to do. But I have this gift of creativity with my artwork, so I started, well, you know, maybe if I can create some images in my art, you know, to help people understand, maybe that would be my way of my contribution. But I did not realize it would not just be my contribution, it would also be very therapeutic for me. As I go back.
So, real quick though, before you say that, because what you're talking about, and like there's a story, like you said, there's the therapeutic, there's a story in your paintings and stuff, and I want you to kind of tell the story of, like we've heard what happened, but tell the story of this particular painting.
Well, also, after creating this painting, I didn't think much about it then. But years later, I'm at this event, and this lady, who she later became my friend, she was talking about her, what happened to her during the march. And then I thought about it, and I realized at the time, she was like the youngest person that did the complete march from Selma to Montgomery. But as she told her story about what happened to her, the first attempt to do the march, I realized she was the woman that woman was the little girl that I saw that day, and then that image stayed in my mind all those years. And now when I have these images that's coming back to me, I share them with people through my artwork. And hopefully, as I share these images in my artwork, it help people to understand the journey of Black America, and specifically people who cannot relate to all the things that's been happening to us. Because I run into so many white people now who, when they see my artwork, they want to know the story behind it. I tell them the story, and they like, I didn't know. I didn't know, you know. And now they're trying to understand what has been taking place and what's been happening to us all the time. I don't consider myself as being a good speaker, but I like telling my stories behind my artwork. So if I can share my artwork and help people understand the flight of African Americans in this country, you know, I'm going to continue to do that, because I think we all have a moral obligation to try and contribute in whatever way we can.
To human society.
To me, specifically as an artist, I think God created artists to enhance this world. You know, because without, artists has always been on the front line when it came to advancing humanity. The way I see it, basically social justice. If you look at some of the songs that people like Bob Marley and Pete Seeger and Bob Dylan, those songs are all about embracing people regardless of their race or religion, and a lot of time when people want to quiet the artists, whether you're painting or whether you're singing, they want to quiet the artist, especially when the artist started to promote an agenda that they don't particularly agree with.
So let me ask you this question, because if you could summarize your purpose with your art, because it is understanding human justice, but because what people don't know is, you would think with all the trauma, the in-bed trauma, that you may be resentful and things of that sort, but Frank is actually a very loving person, saying for humanity. So if you could summarize what you feel is your life purpose with your art, what would you say it is?
To speak for those who don't have a voice. And when I say that, it's like for years I did not know that I had a voice. It was like I had all these things I wanted to say, but I was like, man, if I could just speak to these politicians, if I could just speak to the governor, because the answers are not that hard, but they're not listening. They're not listening. And so, but since I don't have a platform, since I don't have a mic to talk to the nation about, I better just try to use what God has given me. God gave me this artistic ability. And if I can create images in my artwork now that's going to address issues that people are dealing with, then that's what I want to do. I want to speak for the voiceless through my artwork.
That sounds like synergy.
And so my work is evolving. My work is evolving from, I remember when I was younger, I would do art and I would go to these galleries and try to hang my work, and they didn't want to hang my work because they said, well, my work was either too angry, too militant, or too sexually suggested. You know how people, how we artists, we can do some great bodies in our work. So they had all these reasons. They would come up with a reason why they didn't want to show my work.
It was too risque.
Yeah, it didn't matter whether it was too militant, too angry, whatever. They didn't matter.
It was too something.
But
it was too
now
much.
I'm evolving. I think I've evolved to a place where I understand my obligation as an artist now. And my obligation as an artist is to try to create images that's going to advance humanity. Create some images that's going to get people to understand people who've been misunderstood. If you look in the history books, I remember when I was going to school, the only thing I knew about black people is that we had been slaves, and I didn't know about all the great things black people had done.
Right.
And we had never received any recognition for it. I want to create some images that show that greatness and how we have advanced, not because of what has been done for us, not because of what has been given to us, because we've been denied so much, but we've advanced in spite of what they've done to us. I think about people, some of my heroes, Muhammad Ali. They took Muhammad Ali his most productive years. They did not even allow him to compete in his chosen profession. But in spite of that, in spite of that, he still rose to a level that no boxer has rose to since. So he did not. He could have laid down feeling sorry for himself and wallowed in his pit and complained about what white people had did for him. But instead of doing that, he decided, I don't have those years that they took, but I got some years in front of me.
That sounds
So
like
I'm
staying
going to make the
present.
most out of them.
Right.
And that's what he did.
That sounds like staying present in the moment and not living in the past, not thinking about what happened to you. You know, and some of the things that we talk about, you know, here on this show, that these are examples of that. And Frank is also an example of that. Despite it all, we are always contributing to
Yes.
humanity, you know what I'm saying, ultimately. And this being the 4th of July, Independence Week, here in the United States, I'll be clear, we're going to talk about some artwork that Frank has regarding that those images. And we talked about a little bit about Bloody Sunday, and this particular, the jacket, I want to talk about this jacket. Okay, this jacket here, it has Bloody Sunday on it, but it also has the American flag blood dripping. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, because in Independence Day, what do we wave all the time? That flag. So let the Frank tell us, break this.
Well, first of all, this flag represents how black people have contributed to what this image represents. How we basically, the red in the flag, to me, that's the blood of my people, and we still contribute to make this country great every day. But every time, but the funny thing about it, even when we're contributing, we are made, we become villains. To give you a perfect example, I'm gonna start with Tommy at the Olympic Games when he held his fists up during the national anthem, protesting. He held his fists up, protesting the way America was treating people of color. After that day, things advanced. His protest caused things to advance, to get a little better. But he paid a cost for it. Because he did do that, after that he couldn't get a job, he couldn't find work, he wasn't able to work in his profession. I mean, he wanted to go into the NFL and be a football player. It didn't happen because he sacrificed that to make America better. To me, that's a patriot. That's a patriot because it's, first thing they teach us in the elementary school, they teach us there, I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. That means in all of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. So these people, he's protesting because he doesn't see liberty and justice for all. And so he's villainized and punished for asking America to live up to what that flag represents. We've bled for this flag. He's asking America to live up for what that flag, America needs to, we understand what the flag represents, but we don't like the way that people represent the flag. It's like hypocrisy, you know, in America we need to stop being in denial and see the hypocrisy. Then 50 years later, there's Colin Kaepernick. Same story. He's asking America to live up to what those words mean, liberty and justice for all. Now, since that day, America has moved a little bit further. So because he asked America to do that, because he sacrificed his career asking America to live up to those words, liberty and justice for all, things have moved some. But he's been punished because he dared to ask white America to embrace those words, liberty and justice for all. So my thing is, anytime we do things to make this country greater, we are punished for it. Another example, soldiers that fought in the war, black soldiers that fought in every war we've ever had. And black soldiers have came home. They've been able to come home from the war in the past, wearing those uniforms. And they were beaten and sometimes killed for wearing the uniform. These soldiers went out and fought to make this country better, fought for the freedom of America, and they come back and people see them in those uniforms. Oh, they think he's something. They think he's good as white people, and then they're beaten for wearing the uniforms. Maybe and I'm probably gonna get some backlash for this.
It's all right. Listen,
But-
you're here. We're
but it's
going
the
to do
truth.
that.
It's the truth, and people need
The
to
truth
stop
hurts.
living in denial. They need to stop pretending like these things didn't happen, because if you don't know your history, it will happen again.
Absolutely.
And it's about to happen again if Congress don't get it together, because people have a tendency to follow blindly, and it's been happening in this country ever since. So I'm going to create artwork that would hopefully wake people up.
Okay, well, let's talk about this next piece that you got going on here. Yes. Go. So by all means, yes. Wake up. Happy 4th of July. Okay,
This is-
honestly. So yeah, tell them about this other piece we got here.
This piece represents, to me, this is black women has contributed so much to this country and have not been recognized for it. I mean, they've sacrificed so much to make this country strong. And I'm gonna walk it back a little bit. Black soldiers died in the Vietnam War at a disproportionate rate, considering how they were the way they were stacked in the military. Those black mothers sent their sons off to die in that war. It was almost as though, since black women been in this country, they've been raising children to die for the comfort of white America. If you think about it, black women on those slave plantations, they were basically, a lot of times, they gave birth to their children. Those children worked on the plantation. They picked cotton. They did the farming. They did the ranching. They ran the sawmill. Black slaves did all the work. Black slaves built the White House. Black slaves did all the work, and black mothers birthed these children to do the work as slaves. And then black mothers was made to be what they call wet nurses. This painting is titled The Wet Nurse. Wet nurses was commonly used on plantation, not just to nurse their own children. Sometimes their children were long finished nursing, but they would use those women to nurse white children, other slaves who were probably in the fields working, and so the wet nurses would nurse those kids. Quite often, sometime a white woman would have a child, and if she's sick or ill and can't nurse, she has a designated wet nurse to nurse her child when she's not able. Sometimes, if you got a new baby, you understand what I'm saying. Sometimes they would be sleeping in the bed at night. The baby wake up in the middle of the night. Nurses, when you got a new baby, you're sleep deprived. You don't get much sleep. So what they did, they would have a wet nurse sleeping at the foot of the bed. If the baby woke up in the middle of the night, the wet nurse would get up and nurse the baby, because they didn't have refrigerated milk and all that stuff back then, So instead of going to the refrigerator getting a bottle of milk, the wet nurse would get up and nurse the baby. So black women have been nourishing this country from day one and receive very little recognition. When I look at the respect that's given to black women in this country, it saddens me sometimes. But I think America needs to start accepting blame. And because things doesn't get better until you, what they said, like for an alcoholic, you
can't work. It won't work
cure
if you work it.
until you admit
Don't work if you don't
that you're
work
an
it.
alcoholic. You have
That's
to
right.
first admit you're an alcoholic.
That's right.
America still have not admitted their wrongdoing.
At all.
We had congressmen and politicians who voted against freeing the slaves. We had people in Congress, in the government, who voted against freeing the slaves. And then once the slaves were free, well, before the slaves were free, they said they decided they'd fight a war first. And they did. And lots of people died in that war because of, and the sad part about it is, the great majority of white America did not own slaves.
That part.
But these wealthy white slave owners with all these huge plantations, they saw all that money they was about to lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they lied and convinced the rest of white America, you need to go to war, or if you don't go to war, they're going to come down here and take our slaves, they're going to ruin our way of life, they're going to take away our way of life. And they told so many lies, they convinced the Confederacy to go against
the Union.
They basically was, oh boy, they gonna be after me for this.
No, I know. Listen, so that's what I'm saying. We're not gonna go all the way because it's another show. But that is another show. We will stay right.
But the bottom line is, they convinced them to go to war.
Yes.
So these people can stay wealthy and powerful.
Yeah.
And the great majority of the people who died in that war didn't even own slaves.
That's right.
They was fighting somebody else's war.
Fighting somebody else's war. I just want to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you all right? I mean, because this is how the conversations go.
This is the nurse, the
wet nurse.
The wet nurse.
So because people, these are like thought-provoking pieces. They definitely are conversation pieces. If you would like to have one of these lovely pieces in your home, in your office, anywhere, make sure that you reach out to me. You can either reach out to me. You can send me an email at tellemchris@gmail.com, or hit me up in the inbox or email, or you can hit up Frank and let him know that you saw him on Introducing and you want one of the pieces. Okay, so because the message in this is just, it's amazing. I'm getting me a jacket. So,
oh yeah, I'm going to keep on messaging also. I have some other pieces that I want to share with the world.
Yeah.
That tells more stories. You know, there's so many stories out there that haven't been told because, you know, they purposely left these stories out of the history books.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised though. I had this painting on exhibit at a university in Alabama during February, Black History Month, and the majority of the campus was white. And so many young white kids came up to me and asked me what this painting meant, and I would talk to them about the wet nurse and how the wet nurse was used on the plantation, and they were so surprised. They did not even know what a wet nurse was. They had never heard the term. And I'm like, it's because they specifically left these things out of the history book. They left so much out of the history book, and now that they're trying to sort of correct these things that were left out of the history book, we got a whole half a country fighting to keep this stuff out of the history book. They don't want their children to know about it, you know.
That's sad. That's sad.
But there's an old saying, the truth shall set you free.
That's right.
But there's also a saying that said that if you don't know your history, you will repeat it.
Absolutely.
So if we ever going to truly be free in America, we need to start telling the truth.
Happy Independence Day again, because that's the facts. On this show, you know, I want people who just got a good chance to meet Mr. Frank Hardy, get an insight to his art and his purpose and his messaging in his art and his voice. Really, that's really what it's breaking down to. He's using the canvas to share stories of our history through art, and it's powerful stuff, and it's the truth. You know, when you see these things, you can kind of, you know, share examples in history, and that's why I love, you know, talking to you, Frank, because you share the stories in history. But, you know, it is time for the new thing, and the new thing this week is this lovely studio. Yes. Y'all don't know nothing about that. For us, this is brand new. So this is the new studio. You'll see me from here from time to time. This is the VNP Media Production Studio. It is owned by Miss Karen McConnell Jones, and I also work in here too. So from time to time, you may see me behind the scenes. But this is new for introducing. So if you have a show idea, if you want to rent out a space, if you want to have meetings, make sure you reach out, and I'll put the information down at the bottom so you can send an email or call Karen. I'm sure she'll be glad to hear from you, and let her know that Introducing sent you her way. And that's only for people locally in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. If you're outside that area, I have some other spaces coming for you really, really, really soon. Okay? All right. So after the new thing, we always talk about the new way of thinking. And as you were talking, Frank, I could just hear the dichotomy of this country, of the world, of how, there's not this good and bad, but it's these two extremes of things. So you were talking about Tommy with his the sacrifice. Like, even though he had to give up something, he had to
Yes.
sacrifice something in order for
To
the
make
great
this
good,
country better.
to make the country better. And we live in that type of dichotomy in society, but we also have that dichotomy within ourselves. And I think a lot of the battle to get through, to become, to reach a point where you can share your message without bias and to teach everyone, you have to go through some of that battle within yourself. How do you interact with people who may come at you with adversity sometimes?
Truth. I've had people I've been attacked. I've had people to basically, when I say attacked, sometimes when people see you, when people start to listen to you, and when people start to say, he makes a good point, then what they will do, they'll do little things to try and destroy your character. What they call character assassination.
There you go.
So then hopefully people won't listen to you.
Okay.
It has happened many, many, many times with black people, and that's why a lot of black people are afraid to speak out. If I speak out, next thing you know, I'm going to be attacked.
So how do you deal with that? Like, you said truth, right? So, but that's outwardly. Inwardly, how do you stay motivated to continue to tell the truth, to continue to paint the truth?
Well, I can't stop. I don't even. I'll be laying in the bed in the middle of the night, and I come up, and I have this vision, and the next day I'm trying to find a way to get it on. So I don't know where it's coming from, but just like my talent, I didn't go to school to learn how to paint or to draw, and so if God gives me this talent, I feel like He gives me these visions also. And to be honest about it, I don't. For years, I struggled with a lot of things because, first of all, I'm no saint myself.
Right, right.
I've had my struggles. I've been in dark places where I had to learn how to control my anger. I've had to learn how to suppress those things that would ended me up in prison. But each time you do it, you become stronger. Each time you refuse to retaliate at people who would destroy you if they could, you become stronger and wiser. But not only that, you start to feel sorry for them. But not only that, sometimes these things happen so that you don't have to be around those people. Because there was a time in my life when things happened when I would get so angry with these people. I'm fixing to risk going to prison, But instead of allowing those feelings to take control of me, I just distanced myself. And when that happened, I went into this sort of a secluded lifestyle. And when that happened, I fell back on my artwork. I needed that therapy, so I would just draw and create and draw and paint and create. The next thing, and then I started writing. Now I have a book coming out, and I like to come back. Thank you. I'd like to come back next month and tell you about my book that's going to be released.
Well, you know, Frank, you can come back anytime you want to.
Well, thank you very much.
Visit friends.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to anytime I have something new coming up, I want to come and share it with your audience. But the thing is, you know, once you remove yourself from bad aura, you're able to think and see more clearly. And it takes you out of that dark place. And sometimes you have to, so I'm thinking these people done ran me away because I'm so angry with them, but that wasn't happened. Sometimes God wants to get you away from that bad aura so you can see more clearly. And since then, I've been writing, and when I was a youngster, I never would have thought I could ever write a book, me. Now I have one book already published and another book coming out real soon. And let me tell you the name. It's called The Dancer.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's called The Dancer. The Dancer is a great story, and I'm also creating a series of paintings that tell the story of the dancer. The paintings are no more than a storyboard of the book.
Right.
And we also we will be performing it on stage through a series of dramatic monologues, storytelling, and dance performances.
Wonderful.
So I'm looking forward to sharing that. Maybe next time we could create a little room in here. I do a scene from the dancer. I tell you what, we could possibly, I do a reading from the dancer and do a scene from the dancer. And
That sounds like fun to me. That sounds like a whole show right there.
and I truly,
Yes.
I truly believe once your audience see what we have from this story, it would inspire them to go out and purchase the book also. See, the dancer, I'm gonna tell you this much. The dancer is about a nation of traumatized people. That's us, you know. And sometimes we do desperate things because of that trauma that we're born with. And I have to explain this to people sometimes. We are born, we already have this much trauma in us from birth. The average white person may have this much anger, you know. But we already have full already because we have what's called inherited trauma. And inherited trauma is real. You think about this. Just say your great-great-grandmother came over from Africa in the belly of a ship. That's a traumatizing experience itself. And she stepped off that ship and she was put into slavery. And everything took place to her. Everything from raping, beatings, forced to work. And then now she's finally made it up with this slave and they love to try to make big, strong slaves with healthy women so they can create bigger, stronger slaves. So a lot of times they might be forced to have sex with somebody they don't even want to be with because these masters want to produce big, strong slaves. And now, not only this child that she's carrying is not only carrying her trauma, also is carrying the trauma of the father. And now that baby is going to inherit that trauma because if a person is traumatized every day of their life, that has to affect that child that's growing in them.
Yeah.
So that child coming to this world traumatized. And then that child will pass that trauma on to their children. And so on and so on. And now we have a nation of black people who are traumatized. And that's why when we see all this traumatization on television and these news reports, it affects us so deeply. And most of the countries don't understand that. That's why when we see these things, we are angered so much more than white America is because they don't understand that we were born with so much trauma already in us, and now we got to go through Jim Crow and racism and all this other stuff, and that feeds that trauma that's already in us. And we have a
That's
nation of
depressing.
people that truly should go through. We need counseling.
We need therapy.
We do not need to go to prison. We need therapy.
We need
you know?
therapy. We do.
Because
We need some
we are
healing.
angry and
We
don't
need
even know why
healing.
we're angry.
We need healing.
I was angry most of my life. Been angry most of my life, trying to understand why am I so angry about this situation.
Right. Well, that's because you didn't know that it was
I didn't
trauma
know
that
I
was
was
built in,
traumatized.
and that's on. And I said that, and one of the first things, like my very first show, was it's a vibe, and one of the things I said on the show is trauma is a vibration. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? And so that energy is in us. You know what I'm saying? Just to your point, that is in us, and when we haven't learned, you know what I'm saying, how to deal with that trauma and how to calm that energy, how to deal with that energy,
First we have
how
to recognize.
That's what I'm saying. We
It's
don't
there.
even recognize
We don't
that
even know
it's
it's there.
there. We don't even know that there's something in us working that's working
It
against
causes
us.
that anger.
Yeah, it's working
Causes
against us.
to sometimes even kill people.
It's working against us because we don't even know it's in there. It's working.
But educated people, they know it's in us. They see it, and for years they tried to say we was inheritedly criminal because of some of the violent crime. They talked about
Yeah.
black on black crime
Yeah.
and stuff like
We
that.
gotta wrap
And,
this.
and the people that's talking about this are part of the cause of the crimes that
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
being committed because
Yeah.
they know about the traumatization, and they're trying to pretend like they don't know it, and they continually create situations within the communities of color that feed that trauma, keep us poor, keep us unemployed,
Right.
and throw all this other stuff in our community
That has
that's
us
going to
at-
feed that trauma.
So today's topic, because we're coming close to the end. We only got 5
that was
minutes
quick.
left. It happens like that. So we have,
quick.
I know. So the eye of the beholder is today's topic, and to your point, to drive this home, and I do want to see if we have any questions. If we have any questions, please raise your hands. I can see them back in the corner.
Yes,
so we do.
questions.
We have a question. So the eye of the beholder, to your point, we're not told the truth. The truth is beheld by people who are withholding it
Yes.
from our eyes. And we have to open up third eyes and in our minds and
Yes.
get with people like Frank who are teaching us the truth so that we can become the beholders of the truth. So it'll be in our eyes. So we're going to take this question. We have a question from the audience. Please tell us your name, please, and where you're from.
Good evening. Just want to say great show, guys.
Thank you.
I love it so far.
Thank
My
you,
name's
thank you.
Aisha Betancourt. I'm here, located in the Maryland, Upper Marlboro area. I just wanted to say or ask, since finding and understanding what your purpose is with your art, what are some of your favorite pieces, like go-to pieces to create these days since finding that understanding?
I have a series of paintings that I've done that deals with nurturing. It's similar to this one, but different. When I look at, when I see black mothers caring for their children, when I see people embracing diversity, I have paintings that shows this, and that's why I find peace at these days. Especially, I mentioned embracing diversity. See, in America, we have a way of rejecting diversity. We came close to embracing diversity a few years ago. We came up with this word called tolerance. We need to tolerate. I don't want nobody to tolerate me. Recognize my gifts. Recognize what God has given me and embrace what I bring to the table. Don't tolerate me because God don't make mistakes. God created this diverse world we live in. Diversity is a gift. He gave us diversity as a gift. Now it's up to us. We can embrace that gift and receive all the gifts that comes with embracing God's gift of diversity, or we can continue to reject God's gift of diversity and look where we are. You know, we've got people that's basically always finding reason to reject God's gift of diversity. They come up with reasons, and you heard it. And a lot of them are people that run the country. You know, they say these people are criminals, these people are rapists, these people are this, that, and another. Instead of embracing those things, that seeing people as equals, and understand that these people want the same thing that you want.
Wow.
And if you see them as equals and understand they want the same thing you want, then you start to embrace these people and you love these people, and everything else starts to heal. Everything else gets better because you're not going to mistreat people once you see them as your equal. You're not going to mistreat people once you start to care and love them. And once you embrace God's gift of diversity, you understand how your life become richer.
Well, and on that note, yes. Well, on that note, we have to wrap up the show.
You got to get a longer show.
Listen, I need guests like you all the time so we can have these conversations. I want one more time to let people know, because you are going to be auctioning off. You're going to be selling some of these pieces.
You go to my website.
Because we only have 30 seconds.
I only have a website. It's Art by Hardy.
Yes.
Just look me up on
I'll put it in here.
frankharder1@gmail.com.
Yes.
Contact me through this lady right here, through her show. I'm going to allow her to get my jackets to the public. Just contact her. You can get my jackets, you can get my paintings, my T-shirts, any Art by Hardy. She's going to be my representative here in this area.
All right. Well, then you heard
And
it.
hopefully art will change your life.
That's right. So thank you so much for tuning in to Introducing. Thank you again, Frank, for coming and joining us. I hope you all enjoyed your Independence Day. I hope you enjoyed this particular show of Introducing. The truth is in the eye of the beholder, and I hope you learn the truth for yourself. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And until next week, I love you all. Peace.